If you desire to do anything big in your life, then you're going to have to accept failure.
What's up, HP?
Holla, holla.
Back at the Freedom Parents.
Let's go.
Having some awesome discussions, right?
We are.
Yeah. What are we talking about today?
That you're going to fail. You're a failure.
That just gets me every
That's
time.
what you told me.
You're going to fail. As we're talking about your ability to focus and have energy, right? We're like, hey, come on, let's focus energy.
Hey, look, I'm at the 17th hour, close to 18th hour of my fast.
You sound like me counting the miles on my run.
No, I'm actually not hungry or anything. Like you shouldn't be. Like that means you're actually, kicking in.
Yeah.
To the adipose tissue that you don't want.
I like it.
Sustainable energy, baby.
Well, that could be a whole episode.
Don't knock it. Oh yeah, we want to talk about that. Let's pivot.
Different methods of nutrition.
Yeah.
Which you will also fail. Sometimes you're gonna fail in everything, right? And why we're laughing. I mean, it's funny and it isn't, right? At the same time, I think there's a huge enemy that is coming after people who have great potential, great dreams, ability too. I think so many people out there, it kind of pisses me off, honestly, is there so many people out there believe that they don't have the abilities, the skill, the talent, the means to succeed in life. And I'm like, bullshit. Yes, you do. Mm-hmm. But you've convinced yourself that it has to look a certain way. And in reality, most people just haven't failed enough towards their way to success. They've given up or not even tried. I think, honestly, so many potentially great people, great leaders, great entrepreneurs just haven't even started,
That's true. And I don't think as you're talking through that, I got one fly in this huge house and he wants to come bother me.
If you're watching YouTube, you might catch it.
And then he wonders why he's got to die. What? I'd share the house with him. He don't take up much space, but he's got to come bother me.
He's here?
Anyway.
It's kind of like failure, right?
Yeah, he's going to fail. He keeps landing on me, but shoot fly. No, like I think as far as failure, I don't think people mind. Now, I'm sure some do, but I don't think they mind failing like themselves, because if no one knew, I think a lot of it is they fear what others are going to think. Yeah. I think that's the biggest fear of failure is what are other people going to think? What are other people going to say? How are they going to look at me? Oh my goodness. Knowing damn well that if you just use common sense, these people have failed at 20,000 things too. They just don't broadcast it, or they never were courageous enough to broadcast that they were trying something new. So you don't even know if they failed. So for you to go do something and fail, and you don't fail either. We'll get into that, I'm sure, as this episode unravels, but. Yeah.
Well, yeah, fear is a big thing. And so fear of people seeing you fail, it's like, who hasn't been out in public and tripped, or something embarrassing happened. And I remember, I was in the cafeteria one time when I was a kid, and, they pulled a class. It was, a classroom. And someone, the age-old trick of pulling the chair, and you go to sit down and it's not there. And I remember that happening and just being so, so embarrassed, And I think we think that all failure is going to look like that. Like it's going to draw that kind of attention and people are going to notice, and it's going to be so embarrassing when we don't succeed. And we probably could unravel this whole episode by the fears that people have of why they don't get started or why they don't continue, the fear of embarrassment, fear of discomfort. It hurts to fail, right? Like we feel it more and we see it more than other people do. And when you quote unquote feel like you're failing or you miss the mark or whatever, it's disappointing. And that's pain.
Yeah, but I think it's perception too. Because if I go back a decade plus ago, then I tried to avoid failure as much as possible because I viewed it, my perspective of it was totally different. Where now I anticipate it actually if I'm doing anything worthy, right? If I'm moving towards anything worthy, I anticipate it as part of the process, and you kind of embrace it because it's an opportunity to learn. Mm-hmm. So when you're moving into bigger, better things, whether it's physically, mentally, whatever it may be, that's a learning curve. But it's we did a whole episode on, I believe we did, I get lost on where I'm speaking, if it's in private trainings or if it's on a podcast, but I speak a lot about the valley. I think we did do a podcast speaking of that. So yeah, if you look at failure and you get stuck in the valley of woe is me, and you spend a lot of time in the valley, then it's going to slow down the velocity of your success. But if you learn to embrace it and anticipate it as, hey, this is a great opportunity to learn right now. What did I learn from this? Now, how can I grow from this? Whole different perspective. And then you don't get in that stinking little valley killing and wasting time.
That's so good. That's really important for, you're welcome.
You said I was going to fail.
Well, you know what? We're going to stumble a little bit on our way to success.
I'll tell you what, this fly, I thought I caught him. I thought I'd Miyagi'd his ass.
Miyagi
No, Daniel-san knew.
Yeah. You guys, you got to watch us.
I did. He's
you
right
have
here.
seen that, but he didn't get it. So.
Hey, they don't know.
You got it. But there's what you just said, embracing it, because if failure is really more about not getting started or quitting, then honestly, what's the difference between the people who are so afraid of failing and the people who are moving towards success, failing just the same, making missteps along the way, but still going? What's the difference? It's because they've embraced that is a part of the process and even necessary. Mm-hmm. I know that a lot of my fears around success and failing, it was like a black and white thing. You're either going to be a success or you're going to be a big fat failure. Had a lot to do with how I saw other people approach their goals growing up. Because if most people are afraid of failing, then it's very likely that you have incredible people in your life with great skills and talents that wanted to be successful in something and gave up, and you often you grow up looking and learning from other people's reactions. It's our reaction to those things that are going to dictate our next action.
Yeah. Yeah, I can recall, so a little story for fun, just an example of, it was an epic fail, but it was a learning opportunity. And I remember when we got started in what we do today, I had been networking and connecting with people through different platforms, different things. And I don't know why I thought that the guy, I guess we were so hot and heavy in what we were doing, and we were growing, and I was excited, and I really wanted to partner with this person because he was cool, and we went way back in college and stuff, and we had reconnected, and happened to live in my town. And I remember I don't know what made me think of it, but he texted me and wanted to talk. So I just assumed, because everyone who texted me out the blue wanted to talk, at that point wanted to talk about what we were doing and how they could get started and how I could help. And I tell you what, I assumed wrong. And I just went to verbally vomiting on him about how what we do can help him. I was excited for him. I'm telling you, I must have. And I just went off, and then he goes, and then I just stopped to catch my breath, and he goes, "Oh, that's great. Yeah, I was just calling to see if you wanted to go to, I don't know, bowling or something like that, or I don't know what it was, or go for a hike or something like that." And I was like, oh, I remember I turned so red, and there was nobody else there. I remember standing outside the front of our house, and I was like, oh my goodness, how am I going to recover from this? I felt sick to my stomach. This was a decade ago, give or take. Mm-hmm. And I remember coming inside. You remember, what I'm talking about. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm never talking to anybody again. And that was like for 24 hours. I felt so stupid. But I learned from that because I learned to not assume anything, to ask more questions, to listen to people. And I also learned that what's the worst thing that could happen? He didn't bite me. We still talk to this day occasionally on social media. We moved to Arizona since then. So that was the biggest thing. What's the worst thing that could happen? I opened my mouth. I verbally vomited a little bit. I assumed. I didn't die. He didn't hate me for it. I think we actually did a Bible study together for a year after that.
Yeah.
And we were cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, if anything, the fact that you stuck with what we're doing now when it was new
and I
then,
didn't quit. There you
that
go.
Like, over time we have to give
I quit
ourselves
for 24 hours.
for 24 hours and you came back around.
I hid in my closet.
And we have to give ourselves permission to not only have these bumps in the road, but to grow through them, to take the experience. That was an incredible on the job training moment, right?
That's the way you look at it, and that's the way you should look at it.
Yes.
That's a good way to put it.
And then over the years, it's also been kind of auto-corrected because you didn't give up. So what? So maybe that guy at the time thought you were doing one of those things, or maybe he did laugh about it or something after he got off the phone, or maybe he did think that we were never going to succeed or so. Who knows? And I'm not going to put words in his mouth. He's a really nice guy, but we all have these thoughts, But now 10 years later, when everything about our life has changed because of that, and, we personally are living the life of our dreams, I don't think he's thinking that anymore. So because you persisted and you didn't give up, you didn't let embarrassment set in, you were able just to let time and success over that period of time to autocorrect that experience.
Yeah, just kept moving along. Like I said, 24 hours. The problem is that would have knocked most people out of the game altogether. I just know it. And I don't say that like as a hunch. I know that, because we've worked with thousands of people, and that's not an exaggeration over the years. That would have took them out.
Absolutely.
That, because they'd have saw that as a failure. I was embarrassed. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at talking to people. I'm not good at sales. I'm not good at insert whatever. And perspective.
Yep, definitely. I always like to think that failure isn't really failure unless you've quit. Or you just never even took action and got started. Think about, tie it to, so let's keep tying it to scenarios.
Think about so that was like on the job type of stuff. But think about, like, failure is required. It's necessary. Like I said, it's part of growth, and how you look at it. But think about in lifting weights. Every time I go to the gym, at least when I'm in that season, like right now I'm in more of a rehab season, but when I'm in that season of growth, every day I go to the gym, pretty much, I'm looking for failure.
Yep.
I'm looking for failure on a lot of my lifts. I'm looking for failure at the end of my sprints. I'm looking for failure. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're looking for failure, because what comes at failure when you exert that physical activity is results.
So good.
Is results.
Yes. And, that's it. Exactly. I think everyone should commit to doing something that makes you feel a physical failure in a good way. Something like lifting weights, running, doing something, anything physical. You put the label on it, go do it, something hard. So that they can feel what you think is failure as something that actually grows you. I know personally, if it hadn't been for getting into lifting weights with you all those years ago and continuing with it, if it hadn't been for getting into running, then I don't know if I would have the same kind of mental fortitude that I have towards other things, where it's like always kind of this whisper in my head that, like, you are strong, you can feel weak, And then you can still do these things, and you can get stronger in the process of being weak because you continue at it. And that's really, that's what it's about, is to continue applying yourself in a difficult way over time, that you are skilled in what you're trying to do, that you gain the knowledge and the abilities. So many people, they start something and they think, well, I'm not a leader, or I'm not a great coach, or I'm not this or that. I'm like, no, you're not.
I was going to say, I don't know where you're going with that. And I was like, yeah.
It's day one.
You're an aspiring
But
leader.
you can become that.
You are, yeah.
And how do I know? Because we're all human beings, we've got the same makeup, we all have the ability to progress over time under pressure. The thing that people fear when it comes to quote unquote failure is they think of, dysfunctional failure, like the people that are making bad choices that are constantly like, it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing as the husband or the wife that is repeatedly, cheating on their spouse. Mm-hmm. That's failure. That's someone that keeps making a really bad choice and they do it over and over again. That's never going to get better. There's nothing that's going to autocorrect that over time. It is not the same thing.
Right.
So we really need to get very clear on how we're taking these perceptions of what failure is, and we just apply it to everything in our life.
Yeah.
To me, that's the enemy. That's the enemy coming at really great people, amazing people, trying to make them only think one way and one paradigm for the rest of your life. And then you blink and your whole life is gone. You're like, dang, I never did that thing, and it was all a big fat lie.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah. I believe when you begin to see failure as a necessity and a requirement for growth, that's when things will change and you'll have peace with the growth.
Yep. The biggest scapegoat is someone experiencing discouragement and saying, I'm just not good at this. Like, insert blank. I'm just not a good health coach. I'm just not good at being a business coach. I'm just not good at social media. I'm just not good at doing videos. And that's the biggest scapegoat in the world, because you're just automatically limiting yourself versus being like, when you have something that is in front of you, be like, ooh, I'm not good at this yet. Mm-hmm. And just saying, well, when you make a little mistake, my auto response now is, okay, what am I learning from that? How am I pivoting? Is there something I'm changing in my wording, in my presence, in my lighting, in my approach, in my schedule? And I'm always thinking, okay, what did I learn from that? That's going to make me better. That's going to make me stronger. Mm-hmm.
I know. All right.
That's it.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. All right.
Then the fly left.
The fly's gone.
I think I caught him with my hand. You just lied to them people.
Yeah. Oh, actually, is that it on the floor?
Boom.
I'm very well my feet.
Scoreboard.
Biatch. You guys, y'all need to go back to YouTube if you're not watching this, because
I Daniel sunned his ass.
The only thing that would have been better is you didn't your two fingers like this.
I didn't want to show off.
So nice of you. Yeah. Especially when we're talking about failure.
All right.
Somebody tries that.
All right.
All right, friends. Well, remember, you deserve to live the life that you desire. So go out right now and create your new American dream.